Hi, smart sleepers. Happy Sleep Wisdom Wednesday. This week I am talking about some basics of sleep. And the reason is that I think it's helpful to know about our sleep stages, about how sleep works, to really improve your sleep and understand more about it. So you have a realistic view of what it means to sleep well. Because when you sleep fine, it's this easy thing that you don't really think about, right? Like breathing. Um, but it seems a lot more complex when you have insomnia, especially for years or even decades. So, having a basic understanding of how sleep works is that first step to getting your sleep back. So, first of all, there are two body systems that hardwire you for sleep. The first is your biological circadian clock, or circadian rhythm, as we call it. And this gets its cues from light and darkness. So, when the sun sets or the lights get dim in the evening, your body starts to produce a hormone called melatonin. And this has a relaxing effect, which makes you feel sleepy and ready for bed. But if you surround yourself with bright artificial lights and the blue light from screens, your body will still think it's daytime, so it won't prepare for sleep. Now, in the early morning hours, your body begins to release a stress hormone called cortisol. If you've followed what I talk about at all, you know I talk about cortisol a lot. It's a very important hormone that helps wake you up and gives you energy throughout the day. And another thing to know is that your circadian rhythm doesn't stay steady all day. It actually peaks and dips, kind of like this. And so there is a very natural drop in our circadian rhythm in the early afternoon. And so that explains why we get tired at that time, especially after lunch, and why so many cultures take a nap at that time. So just know that's normal. Of course, if you haven't got enough sleep, then that dip is going to be even more pronounced. And depending on what you eat for lunch, that dip can be even more pronounced. But that is a very normal thing that happens. And then we tend to become more alert toward late afternoon, early evening, and then ideally get sleepy as bedtime approaches. Now, the second system that hardwires us for sleep is what we call sleep wake homeostasis. So, this is our internal counter or timer that's responsible for our sleep drive. Now, sleep drive is a need to sleep that you feel when you become tired. And this works because the longer you are awake, the stronger the drive for sleep becomes as the hormone adenosine builds up in your body. And eventually you feel as though you can fight it no longer and you need to sleep. And during sleep, then this need dissipates, or that drive diminishes, so that when you wake up in the morning, you don't feel the need to sleep anymore, especially if you slept well. So to illustrate this concept, imagine you're wearing an invisible backpack during the day. The longer you're awake, the more bricks you collect in your backpack, representing your sleep drive. As the day wears on, you slowly collect bricks, about one brick for every 2 hours you're awake. When you go to bed at night, you have a very heavy backpack full of bricks, which is why you feel really sleepy. And then if you get the sleep you need, you wake up debt-free with your backpack empty. So this leads to the concept of what we call sleep debt. So if your body functions at its very best after 8 hours of sleep, then you wake up with zero debt. If you don't get enough sleep, however, that missed sleep doesn't just go away or disappear. Instead, it accumulates every day over time until your body forces you to make it up, either by sleeping in on the weekends, crashing, or getting sick and getting that sleep that you need. So back to that backpack analogy, if you need 8 hours of sleep but only get 6, you're waking up with 2 bricks in your backpack. If you only sleep 6 hours the next night, you add 2 additional bricks to the load, and so on until your backpack bursts at the seams pretty much and forces you to rest. So sleep debt is the idea that we don't just start over every day with how much sleep we need, that if we don't get enough, it accumulates over time. So those are the two drives that make us sleep. Now I want to talk a little bit about the stages of sleep because I think this will explain some misconceptions and some ways that you might feel. So, and this will help you understand if your sleep patterns are normal or not. So there are two stages of sleep. There is REM sleep, and then there are three different stages of non-REM sleep. So the first is stage one, non-REM sleep, and this is pretty much the transition between being awake and asleep. So your body temperature drops, your breathing slows, your heart rate decreases. You may not even think you're sleeping, even though your brain waves on an EKG would indicate that you are. So every once in a while, this is when my husband nudges me and tells me that I'm snoring. And, I don't even think I've been asleep yet. So how is that possible? So that's that very light stage of sleep. Then stage two, non-REM sleep, is the first true stage of sleep, and it continues to be light sleep until you fall into deep sleep, which is next. So if someone woke you up during stage two sleep, there is a 50% chance you would tell them you weren't even sleeping yet. So again, it's fuzzy, what we're aware of as we're falling asleep. And in fact, insomniacs often think they're awake when they're in the second stage of sleep, according to a researcher named Greg Jacobs. So a lot of times you might be in this lighter stage of sleep, but you think you aren't sleeping, so you're telling yourself that you were awake for much longer than you were. And this has been studied in a lab. Now, stage three non-REM sleep is what we call slow wave or deep wave sleep. And this is the most restorative stage when your body repairs itself. Your brain stores memories and information from the day. You spend more time in this stage of sleep at the beginning of the night, which is why most people say they sleep better the first part of the night, because they're in this deep stage of sleep for longer during each sleep cycle. And then finally there's REM sleep, which is a rapid eye movement sleep, and it's also known as a dream stage because most of our dreams happen during this stage. Your brain is extremely active during the stage of sleep. Similar to when it's awake is how active your brain is. And it's thought that it's processing emotions, it's connecting information that was consolidated during deep sleep. Now, we spend more time in REM sleep the last half of the night towards morning. So that's why a lot of people report that they feel like they sleep more restlessly toward morning. And it also explains why we tend to wake up remembering our dreams, because we're spending more time in that stage. And it's the last stage of sleep in a sleep cycle. So adults cycle through these stages about every 90 minutes or so. So technically no one's really sleeping through the night. We partially wake up, what we call partial arousals, as you transition from one sleep cycle to the next. And so you may not remember these, but it's when you change positions or get up and go to the bathroom is happening during these transitions. So I hope now you know that it's normal that you feel tired after lunch. That's because of our circadian rhythm, our body clock. It's normal to take a few nights to make up for missed sleep because we have this sleep debt that can take time to make up for. It's normal to misjudge how long you sleep. It's normal to feel like you sleep better the first half of the night and more restlessly toward morning. It's normal to wake up briefly throughout the night. So really, the best way to tell that you slept well is how you feel in the morning. If you wake up feeling rested and full of energy and alert, then that's the best indication, more than any sleep tracker can give you, that you slept well. I hope that helps. As always, let me know if you have any questions or you would like to chat about your sleep. Happy Wednesday!